that was one of the things we were very mindful about at the beginning, and certainly when we did some of the trainings of the teachers at each of our schools, the teachers said, this is just another thing you're asking for, us to do. And so, attendance is something that teachers already take. Homework is something that teachers are already keeping track of on a daily basis. Grades, while they're not calculating grades every day, the 2-week grades, they've got 2 weeks worth of grades that students have done. So there's an added element of adding up the scores and making sure they're straight there. But that's not super burdensome. And with behavior, that's certainly something new that teachers had not done before. But if you have a classroom management system, this is something that you can integrate into that classroom management fairly easily. And one of the, I would say, surprising feedbacks we've actually heard from our teachers is how user-friendly the sheets have been and how useful they've been in the classroom. So to answer your question, there is definitely additional work. Most of it happens just daily, and it's an extra 5-10 minutes maybe a day, and then there's that calculation at the end of the 2 weeks. But for the most part, we've been very mindful about not trying to put too much additional stuff on our teachers' plates who are already doing a yeoman's job. Yeah.
You said it was targeted middle school students. Would you ever branch out into elementary or high school?
One of the things about the chancellor and kind of the general mindset of DCPS these days is, we will only do things that the data tells us is actually having an effect, and we're trying to create a data-driven culture. So if this, when we get into the data and the analysis, if this shows that these kids are just off the charts and it's not all this stuff, absolutely, we'd come back and say, how much will it cost to do this program and expand it and things like that. But at this point, the commitment with in our partnership with Ed Labs is just for 2 years in middle schools. Yeah.
Is there any incentive in it for the teachers?
There are stipends that are given to teachers and coordinators at the schools. One thing I should have clarified a little bit. We have 15 schools. However, DC in many of our communities we're moving towards a pre-K-8 model. Mm-hmm. So that's kindergarten or pre-kindergarten through 8th grade all in one campus. And that's a whole nother subject, but of our schools, 7 of our schools are pre-K-8s and 8 of our schools are traditional middle schools. Now what this means is that in the pre-K-8s, it's still, the students are participating that in the 6th and the 7th, and in some cases the 8th grade are still on a self-contained elementary school type schedule. They may have a few more teachers than usual, but they're with the same person all day. And so that actually turns out to be more work for one teacher, but less work than what goes on in the middle schools, because in the middle schools, if you see, let's say, you have 8 periods, 2 plannings, you see 6 classes a day, those are 6 different tracking sheets. And so we worked with our principals to figure out with them what they thought was fair. But there were stipends set aside, and many of our teachers have received those, and all of our coordinators have received stipends for doing it.
And I actually had another question. With the kids, you said that it goes into an account for them where it doesn't have to have a parent signature.
Right.
Has that presented any type of distraction, just in terms of kids bringing an excessive amount of money to school, or things like that?
Not that we've heard. The one thing that we've heard varying stories about students spending this money and going to the SunTrust branch every week and just to check their balance and then saying thank you, and SunTrust.
So the kid can just walk in and say,
oh yeah. Now there's no ATM card, and it's a
Okay.
savings account, so there's only 2 withdrawals allowed a month, and then after that there are fees incurred, and so there's some elements of the way it's structured to encourage saving.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't heard anything negative from our schools about suddenly middle school kids having more pocket money than they used to have. The one thing with the students, not all of our students have set up the bank accounts, and so those students do still receive paper checks. So if you're in this program, you're going to get paid one way or another. But certainly the schools that have high rates of their students signing up for bank accounts, they love that way. It's the schools who still have the paper checks. They're like, they still encourage their kids to get that, because kids, a 6th grader, takes the check and can lose it very easily. Yeah. Yeah.
This program being operated at the 9th grade, is that what you're saying?
No, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
6th, 7th, 8th.
Yeah.
Are there certain skills that you're hoping these students will acquire that you might carry forward when they get out of the program?
Oh, absolutely. The financial literacy piece and SunTrust coming into all of our schools and doing monthly sessions around banking and saving and investing, and they have a number of different modules that they do with the kids, is to teach them, a financial system that unfortunately for a lot of our students in the DCPS schools, they don't have a familiarity with, and then oftentimes their parents and families don't have a real comfort level or familiarity with.
Will they be tracked when they get into the ninth grade?
They will. That's definitely one of the things that the Harvard folks have want to do, is they want to have a longitudinal study as well with the students even after the program.
They won't have money.
No. So right. So 8th graders who graduate this year and are going to 9th grade, the 9th grades do not have these programs. Yeah.
Are there any students that choose not to participate in this program?
Yes, all students were given the opportunity. This was done in a passive consent way, so we did a big push at the beginning of the year to say this program is happening at your child's school. Here are the parameters of the program. If you want to, if you do not want your child to participate, it's just a permission, or I should say a lack of permission slip that they would send home or send back to the school. And to date, I want to say that there are only about 15 students for whom we received these back. And one of the interesting things on that is there's a seat up here. Go and grab that. The feedback we've heard from the parents has been very positive. It's like I said, we do a lot of cleaning and auditing to make sure that what we're rewarding the students for reflects what happened in that 2-week period. And every now and then we'll get a call from a concerned parent who says, this doesn't seem right. It says the student was absent this many days, but I know, my daughter was there. And so we'll figure that stuff out. But we continually, we'll work it out with the parents and figure out if it's correct or if it's not, what happened. But consistently we give the parents, just out of the blue, they'll say, I do think this is a great program. I really appreciate what y'all are doing, and I hope it continues next year and expand it to my other students' school. That's kind of something interesting. Yeah.
Maybe I was just misinformed, but
Sure.
I didn't know the students could spend the money. I thought it went into an account that approved until they were ready to go to college or something.
Oh, no. And this is, it's one of the basic tenets of the way that the Harvard folks have thought about this, is as close to immediate incentives as possible for how the student does in school. Because one of the things that I think this program, and I know very little about the research, but I think there's a lot of research about programs that are more targeted like that and how that works for students, but direct financial rewards on a much shorter timetable is really what they're looking at. Yeah.
How many schools are there total that fit this bill in DCPS? Now you said 15 or
15, so there's.
But how many
Right.
middle schools exist?
Well, there's 7. I'll say this: there's another 17 middle school serving schools that are part of the control group for this experiment for the Harvard folks, and it was a technical term here for optimal randomization. So you cut these two groups into mirror images of each other, socioeconomically, racially, geographically, and created these two groups. And so it's about the same number of students in each. And the other 17 schools are being held as control. And between those, 32 schools, I think that's all but 3 schools that serve 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And the reason for those 3 is because one of the things at the beginning, this was not a program that we wanted to force on anyone. So the Professor Fryer came to the presentation to principals with the chancellor, and the chancellor said, this is something we want to do, but if you don't want to do it, let us know. 3 schools said, we just don't think this is the right thing for us. So their names were effectively taken out of the hat, because to really get the control and the treatment there, you want to make sure it's all the schools would have participated if they could. Yeah.
I actually have 2 different questions.
Sure.
The first one is directed to what you just said. So was it more like a matched comparison, like you had these 15 schools, so you matched them up with the other 17, or was it all 32 were put and it was like randomly drawn?
I don't know enough about it, because this was something that the Harvard folks did. We as a research partner, we give them student level data, and they cut it different ways. But my understanding of it is that it's 17 schools and 15 schools, and it's not a one-to-one match as you're talking about. It's really they crunched it to create a number of different groups that would look similar, and then kind of pick one of those pairings and